Hello, people. This is the Locker Room Talk, the offshoot of the Gossip Wine podcast. Where we do it with just the guys, and people that I know. And I have a very special guest to me today. One of my good friends, Emmanuel here. It's crazy that I'm doing this podcast now with Aya because I literally started a podcast with him. We were just working one day and we just like, hey, let's do it, and we end up doing it. Um, but it didn't last that long. Yeah, it was good. Our time, like my mindset back in that time was crazy. It changed so much.
And that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm glad. And it was called Locker Room Talk, just like this one is called. But I'm glad to have you on the show today, man. Introduce yourself. I introduced you a little bit, but you can tell more about yourself.
Appreciate that. So this gentleman and I, obviously met from work, and I don't know how much he's told you, but we have quite an interesting story. Again, like he said, my name's Emmanuel. I'm here to add some insight in any way, shape, or form. I come with a lot of experience. Again, I'm not a profession in that respect regarding what we normally talk about, but I do think life experiences have a story to tell and life lessons to kind of add on to it. I'd like to think we bring, or at least I can bring, a logical approach to most things. I'd like to think, with that said, just having a logical approach is not the only way to see the world. But I understand most of the rest of the world doesn't necessarily agree, but that's why we're here. Anyway, hopefully we can add a fresh take and, add some incense to the locker room. So sometimes that needs a little bit of a refresh. And I think me being here today will add maybe a different perspective. My perspective is nice. So it's good to be here. It's good to have this conversation right now. Sometimes it's just nice to talk. It's whatever we need to do as a form of mental psychosis, to kind of press the reset button, get back to what we used to be like, So like I said, not to be so mysterious, but like I said, I'm actually not I wasn't born here in the States. I was actually a Haitian born American citizen. I've spoken more than one language in the household, and I have immigrant parents. And for those of you who might be able to relate to that, I think that's been part of my upbringing. 2-parent home. In my culture, it went in this order. It was like it was school life, home life, and church life. So and everything else in between is just everything else in between. So hopefully I can bring something to the table. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I do want to start off by like just talking about how we were just at work and just talking shit, and then I just recorded. I was like, bro, we should do a podcast.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy too, because it's now that's kind of like, go start a podcast is like the butt of a joke now, because it's almost like the new mental Olympics. So we're all dealing with mental health in a way that, you can't turn on Instagram right now or flip your app and not see something on getting some aspect of mental health. But I think, and I'm not Charlemagne, I'm not pretending to be anything, I'm not. I just think it's interesting how we all relate in a way, because it almost feels like we all need to be heard. And it's not about being heard, it's about actually talking your way through life. It's funny because we don't do that enough. And it's true, I can't tell you how many relationships where communication was not the thing that was happening, and I needed to first do that. And that's kind of what I think brought you and I together, because we were always talking about how a lot of things we lacked, both you and me, and then what lacked in some of the encounters we had, and just talking shit, basically. Either, talking shit turns into something where we can grow from, or it's just talking shit, move on with the day, but never see any growth.
And I look back at it because I listened to some of our old stuff, and I'm like, God damn, I was reckless, like super reckless.
We were. I agree.
The shit that I would say, like, I'm like, I don't even think that way no more. And
that's why it's funny. You trying to get canceled?
No. I don't want to get canceled because that shit was Because I remember
Right.
people in the comments like, "You guys are just bashing women," and then we started having women on the show, and then it was
Mhm.
like, okay, we're not bashing women. Some of these women agree with what we're saying, and some of them disagree.
Yeah,
But we're having that
it's
friendly
interesting.
conversation.
But
Yeah,
we
because
did that for a reason. We did that for
yeah,
a reason. We wanted to get that perspective. We wanted to get that fresh take. We wanted to let it grow in the locker room.
yeah,
And that's what we were, and that's where our mindset was at the time. And hopefully we can grow from there. But that's the point, because it's not enough to just be in an echo chamber, right? And I feel
hmm
like when guys are in the locker room, we're just really talking about the same thing to other guys that might agree or might disagree. But sometimes we have that one-off dude that doesn't agree.
yeah,
And sometimes he's heard and sometimes he's not. And that's
yeah. And I just feel like our show is just so interesting, man.
mm,
But I want to get into like I want to talk about our San Diego days.
yeah,
I
let's
want
do
to
that.
talk about
Well,
let's
I
talk some
mean, you
funny stuff.
left, I didn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
still
left,
here.
but
I'm
you
still
didn't.
here, for better or for worse. Right.
Bro, I remember just being in San Diego,
Mhm.
um, like working. But so by the time I was working in Japan and I came to San Diego, I didn't even really
Right.
fuck with San Diego. I hated it
Well,
because I didn't know
yeah,
anything about it. I was always
that's
out
fair.
for work, always out for work.
Mhm.
And then I met one of my good friends, Josh, and then he started showing me out more.
That's right.
And then you end up coming to work, and we just started like clicking, just talking, talking,
Right.
talking.
Right.
And I would tell you like,
I
man,
think energy. Yeah, it's the
yeah,
same
yeah.
energy.
I
Yeah,
was like, man, San Diego's like this, like this. I know I'm talking to all these girls. I'm out here in the streets heavy,
that's
I would have
true.
made
True.
Future proud back in the day. The shit that I was
Yeah,
doing.
that's true. And it's funny how you mentioned Future. You know, he's now being referenced and now being understood as knowing something we were always talking about, or at least we all knew in the back of our minds, but we never really talked about it because the truth is, we would have been shamed for it.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but that's actually funny you mentioned that when you left, I immediately thought to myself, man, it's not going to be the same. I think we started something here. I felt like honestly, you carried the torch, and you're still doing that. I wanted to say, I don't think you really left San Diego. I think you left something in San Diego, and you still have that here. And again, if you ever come back, if you don't, it's neither here nor there. But the point is, you carried the torch to a different time and a different place. And I think that you still kept that fire. And I think that's really important. I mean, whatever you took from San Diego, good or bad, I think you still carried that torch. But that's interesting because me looking from this perspective, I think it's great. I think you have an opportunity to take that and what we talked about and what you've learned so far from the experiences you had, good or bad, and you brought it to a different part of the world. And how do you think that's helped you?
man. To be honest, it's like I feel like I learned so much from San Diego because I feel
Mhm.
like I was crazy there, like literally crazy. I
Right.
would do some
Right.
crazy shit. I would have
Hmm.
crazy encounters with like multiple females, and it's just like I just thought I was like the shit. Still kind of
Hmm.
think I'm the shit though. I ain't gonna lie,
Well,
but
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. And
but
as no one's going to tell you otherwise, King.
but like it was crazy, man. Like when I got over here and I started getting older, and I was like, man, the streets is fun, but sometimes that shit gets old and boring.
That's funny
But
you say that.
yeah, it's funny I say that because back in the day I didn't give a fuck.
I never imagine you saying that now, given what we've experienced. Right. That's the truth.
Yeah. Like at first I was all out here just in the streets at first, but then I kind of like started slowing down. And then COVID hit and I really slowed down. I'm like, oh. Summer came around, I slowed down a lot. Cause I remember last summer, like I remember the summer before that, I just got back from Africa. I came out
Mhm.
wilding out the gate. Like, I
Yeah.
was wilding out
Africa
the
will
gate.
do that to you. Yeah. I know
Yeah.
firsthand. Yeah.
I was wilding out the gate. I went to like the UK. I went to Portugal. I was going all type of places, just wilding out the gate, man.
Well, see, that's beautiful. And what's interesting? I think we touched on, and it was lightly touched on, being a millennial and dating, and being a millennial in San Diego,
Hmm.
and how we talked about how white San Diego really is,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's not to bring up race. It's just a dating thing, right? So like we thought we brought something different to the table, and as black men, as a black male immigrant, I think I brought some perspective to you, and why I can always imagine traveling. And it's interesting, how has it been, you being a Black American male, right?
Mhm.
How has it been for you being in a completely different element now, being in Spain for starters, and then going from there? Because most Black men I meet that grew up here in America don't talk the way you do. When they hear me talk the way I do, I think that's normal because I'm
Mhm.
not originally from here. And traveling is only a second nature thing because I never feel that settled, if that makes sense, considering I've never been born here.
Yeah.
How does it feel now?
I mean, so this ain't my first rodeo, living
That's not.
overseas. So the first time I lived overseas was a culture shock. Like
Right,
I was in
right,
Japan, it blew
right,
my mind.
right.
And it was just like, and then I was different from everybody, so it kind of made me a commodity, like a hot
Mm.
commodity.
Did it though?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, because when I was younger, I
Yeah.
was just like, "Hey, take me," like I'm the hot
Sure, sure, sure,
commodity,
sure. Okay, so you were a buffet, if that makes sense.
literally a buffet.
Vice versa. Okay,
I was just
got it.
out in the streets like heavy. I was in a picking line.
That's
You
fine. I
know,
wonder. I wonder if your viewers know what you mean by you were out in these streets, because you talking about the 405, or you talking about which set of streets are we talking about? Or is this
uh,
Japan? Is this Spain? Or when did that change?
I was on the Autobahn.
Ah,
It's
got
going
it,
fast,
got it,
it was
got it,
fast
got
track,
it,
bro.
got it, got it. I
Nah,
need
but
to go there.
yeah, and then I came back to Spain. I was like, okay, I already know what to expect. So it really didn't,
Mm.
but the only thing that threw me off is just like the difference of like cultures,
Mhm.
because growing up in California, I'm around like a lot of Mexican people, and then
Sure.
you grow up, and then you go to Spain, you're like, oh, are they the same? Completely different,
Completely
completely
different.
different.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know this too.
completely different. But
I
I do gotta
understand.
ask you, since you've been traveling like me, how do you feel? Uh, going abroad and meeting people, especially
Of
women, because
course.
that they're always different where you go.
Right. And that makes sense. So being that, it's nice to speak a different language, yes, but it also has drawbacks, right? So I do feel more comfortable to visit more French colonized or French speaking locations, because
Makes
French
sense.
is the secondary language. And then the third language I've had in my household was Spanish, outside of English and French.
Mm,
And I have to admit, I've always felt more accepted by the Black community growing up in America. Now, with that
mm,
said, I've learned a lot from that. I've also learned what to take from that. And so, since I've traveled in my traveling days, I've always noticed that, and this I can honestly say came from my parents. We never traveled as tourists, if that makes sense. We've always felt like we have to respect where we're going.
yeah.
So and what that really means is not to say that most people don't do this, but you know, not to bring up different cultures or ethnicities, but I've learned how different cultures and ethnicities travel. Whenever we look at Americans travel, albeit Black, white, Mexican, it doesn't matter. If you're American of that descent, we've always noticed Americans travel a certain way.
Mm,
Whereas when we see Africans travel a different way, when we see Chinese travel a different ways, or anyone from Southeast Asia, there's always a certain stereotype that goes with that.
mhm,
And we've come to appreciate that because we never knew what the way Haitians travel, you know, if Haitians are even traveling as much as they are. Where I'm from a fourth world country, like how
yeah.
often are we traveling, right? Not to bring up the stereotype, but I've known lots of Haitians that travel. This is maybe it's my own bubble, but whenever we go to different countries, we always want to be the ones that necessarily don't want to stick out. I mean, maybe that's changed, but we come to sort of adapt to that, right? And at least in my family, and we would always try to be like, okay, this is how you guys do this versus doing that where we're
Yeah.
currently at.
Yeah, it was
And
just something like I just learned from just being
sure,
around.
well, that makes sense, right? And so when I've traveled alone now I'll tell every man that I meet, especially if they're single, they don't have a family, and by single I mean they're not married. Learn to travel alone, but be smart, right? Uh, when I've been to, like whether it's anywhere in Southeast Asia, yes, you will stick out, but be smart. Don't always remember you represent something. And if there's anything you can take from my experiences, whether you just want to represent yourself and you're your own island, just always know you represent something to these people, whether you want to be a stereotype or not. And I remember being in Africa for as long as I did. I lived in Africa for a year in East Africa. I remember East Africans telling me, hey, where are you really from? Because they've heard me speak French, and I was an interpreter there. They said, I said I was born in Haiti. They said, oh, brother, you're just like us. I hear Djiboutians telling me you're just like us. I was like, what does that mean? And, you know, it wasn't, I don't know if I was being accepted or just being told, oh, it's okay that you're not just American.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think is interesting. You know, it wasn't enough to just be from a different place. You also have to carry yourself and represent who you are as well as where you're from.
All right, all right. I like that. I like that. So I do want to get into some more stuff. You know, we've been talking deep. Let's get into some funny stuff real quick. Some
all right. Stuff. You started this.
I did. I opened up a can of worms a little bit.
You always do. That's okay.
So remember how we were doing our podcast and we came up with all these terms and said like stealthing, situationships. I was just like, yo.
And you hear it's funny how you hear them now, right?
Yeah. Because
you know, all it took was reading what was going on in the world. That's it.
We was coming up like, we was like, yeah, people ghosting people. Like we broke that shit down. And
we did,
like
very early on.
I feel like I run into those situations sometimes. Like I'm like, I hear people like, yeah, you know, I did this, and I'm like, oh, you stealthed somebody. They're like, what? Yeah, you just did the stealth. You went rogue. You went rogue.
All right, for some of your viewers, do they know what stealthing is exactly? Oh man, okay. Well, we'll leave that for another show.
Right.
Yeah, or tell them to watch. Tell them to listen to the old one.
Yeah, listen to the original Locker Room Talk. Because then, you know, I even came up, you got a nickname. I don't think I did it in the thing, but I want people to try to guess what it is. The WG.
Oh, geez. All right.
Yeah, WGW.
Right, of course. WGW. Oh, man. And it's funny, I hear that a lot. I think, you know, I've just interviewed for a major opportunity recently. And I always used to say this to you and some of the guys we worked with. Whenever I hear white people tell me, oh, you're so articulate, because I guess they're looking for things to compliment me on. And I always think to myself, as opposed to what, right? And then whenever I hear black people tell me that, black people say like, oh, you sound like a white boy. Oh, you sound privileged. Actually, that came from you. You sound privileged. And I'm like, I'm far from privileged, but it's funny.
I did say that. But then I was like, you sound like then I switched it from privilege, like, yo, you're a gentleman. The gentleman. You know, we always call you gentleman Bruno.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Gentleman.
Bro, you know, that was the nicest thing you've ever said to me. You know, it was like, as long as I've known you, that was the nicest thing you ever said to me. That's funny. Yeah, you know, that's cool. That's cool. I'll take it. I'll take it. But it was interesting. Yeah, we talked about a lot of interesting stuff. So how are we going to start a pod today? I mean,
I remember. Okay, so I remember that girl that you met a while back. You were talking about her pillows were dirty. I couldn't remember.
Yes.
I want you to tell the viewers like how that disgusted you, like how you went to a girl house. So, just explain.
Yeah, let's talk about it. And just to add context for our viewers, I think it's important we acknowledge that everyone's household is different. I'm not trying to say like, look, this is not an apology rant. This is me saying I was grossed out after being at some chick's place and her pillows were as yellow as custard, as vanilla custard. If you ever eat vanilla custard again, just remember somebody's pillow looked like that. And it's not to say that this girl was like, her hygiene standards they were just not mine. I couldn't do that. And anyway, I was, and I'm sure you can piece together how I would even know what her pillows look like for whatever reason. And and hear how I've grown from that. Let's talk about how I've grown from that as well. So I do believe, and you know, this is not news. I do believe hygiene carries a certain standard. Yeah. I feel like when people are down and out, you should always be able to say, at least there's this, right? And not to get so deep, right? I could have a not so clean, you know, I mean, living room one day, but doesn't mean I don't pick up after myself. I'm not saying you have to clean every day, but see, what that told me was that if I took this girl seriously and I started being in a relationship with her, I have to always remember that I'm accepting this form of life. And I would come home to unlaundered clothing and possibly sheets that I lay my head on. Because if there's two things in life you should be worried about, is how comfortable you sleep, because you're always going to do it, and how comfortable your feet are if you're always going to be standing on them, right? If there's at least those two things you should take. And I immediately thought to myself, this cannot be a woman I could be in a relationship with.
But
It's that simple.
I remember you coming to work. You was like, man, she's so cool, but her pillows are yellow. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, yo,
Right.
when you examine the pillows at
Right.
microscope,
But and it's not to say that it was like a list, a laundry. See what I did there? It wasn't like a laundry list of items that most of our modern women are doing now to say, oh, this is what represents the perfect guy for me. It wasn't like that. It's just something it's like hearing my mom in the back of my head, like, don't do it.
Don't sleep on
Ice
dirty
cold.
pillows. Yeah.
Right. She got some dirty ass pillows. She's like,
yo,
what are you doing? You know, so it wasn't like that was the only underlying factor. Just because somebody have dirty pillows doesn't mean they can't raise a family, but it does mean 3 to 5 years from now, this is going to matter if we need some laundry done. This is a problem. This is a problem. So,
yo, and yeah, we gonna switch from that because I just remember that. So our times out in PB, oh
right.
man,
Yes,
our times
yes,
out in PB, Sunday fun days. I remember like
yes.
just like getting so lit on Sunday fun days,
Right.
and you know I got two stories to tell about this. Two
Yes,
stories
I know.
because I want the world to.
But remember, it was only fun because we did it, not because of what was going on there. It could have been hit or miss. It could have been hit or miss, but it was fun because we went out. Just remember that. That's
yeah,
what
it was fun. It was fun because, okay, I remember we was all out there chilling. It was a whole bunch of us. And remember that girl who came who like looked like she got her ass beat, was thrown in the bushes?
Yeah. So
Yo,
the toxicity, man. We just saw so much toxic stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of toxic shit.
The thing was though, you ushered her in and she started eating your food and shit. I'm like, yo, get this bleeding
Yes,
ass bitch out
she
of here.
helped herself to some fries. Yes.
I'm like, and I was disrespectful. I was like, get this bleeding ass bitch out of here. I was like, what the fuck happened to you? She had like leaves in her hair. She was like, yeah, I got into a fight. I fight UFC. Blah blah blah. I'm like, nah, you homeless or something. That girl was weird. She was funny because she was in love with you.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to say love was the word. I want to say
she lusted.
She was on some. Yeah, she was definitely on the sauce though. She was on the sauce heavy.
She was on something.
And right, and she helped herself to whatever I was eating, and maybe what you were eating too. But I think you ate it faster,
yeah,
so you wouldn't.
Don't touch my shit.
Right. Don't touch me or my food.
But this story leads into the main course of what happened.
Yes, I knew this would happen.
You know what happened.
Yeah, so I'll take some responsibility for that.
Locker Room Nation. Let me start this story off by saying your boy was out there. I was in the streets.
Yeah,
I was pulling in the streets, right?
Yeah.
So we're out here in Pacific Beach in San Diego, and you know I'm sitting here chilling, and I see this girl. She was just a beautiful girl, and she just came up talking to me. I'm talking to her. You know, we having a good time. I'm like, you know. He like I'm talking to her. He see me talking to her. He like, yeah, I see you. You know, we talking. She's sitting all close to me, in between my legs, talking to me. I'm like, damn, this girl's like that bad.
She's in your bubble. She's in your bubble.
She's in my bubble. You know, we talking.
There it is.
You know, some time comes by. You know, she come back, and this dude, he I don't know if he started drinking more or he started doing something, but he started seeing her. He started getting closer, and I'm like, yo, what you doing? He started getting closer. So he started talking to her. But she had a friend too. Her friend was there too. So.
Right, and her friend was, you know, both in the bubble and just doing in and out of the bubble.
You know, the homie was sitting on outside in. He was like, "Yo, can I get in? Can I get in?" So this dude, like, I'm talking to this girl, you know, gaming her up. Blah, 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 blah. At one point in time, I see him. The girl's in front of me right here. I see him behind the girl with this dead eye stare, like this, looking at me, and I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck?" I look down. The girl is in between, like this, like in the circle. His knees and my knees are touching.
I see what you did there.
And I'm like, yo, what the fuck are you doing?
Because I wanted to make sure she stayed locked in for you. Because, you know, at any given point, she was ready to go. I mean, the well was running dry. The well was
No,
running dry. You didn't buy her another drink. You know, I was like, yo, let me make sure this situation is
nah,
good for you.
she ain't need another
I was
drink.
doing that was the homie. That was being a homie.
Nah,
I was being the homie.
it was homies over hoes, but you tried to lock her in. I wasn't buying her another drink because I wasn't on that buy a girl drink shit. I was like,
No,
fuck
no, you're
that,
not. No, you're not.
But then
No, you're
again, she
not.
was older than me and I was younger, and I was just like on some crazy shit. And I'm like, I ain't buying this girl a drink, but we touched knees.
Yes, we did touch knees.
We touched knees.
That's how I knew. That's how I knew.
I was like, what the fuck? I just got up and left.
Oh,
This shit had to be
yeah.
the funniest thing ever because everybody's like, why y'all niggas touching knees? I'm like, yo, I don't know. I was like, bro, he came over here. He cock blocked the shit out of you. And you know what?
Oh,
I'm so mad at you because that
I
girl,
know. I know.
she used to be like an Atlanta Falcons cheerleader. And then, I was following her on Instagram for a while. Now she married with kids. I'm like, man, that could have been me.
That could have been you. Yes, that could have been you.
Me.
You know, it's funny. I would never have thought such an organic situation would have came about that. That's the best way I could put it. And I've learned a lot from that. So, you know, just because you had that bubble for her doesn't mean I can include myself in that conversation or that bubble, much less. And I didn't realize, there was a line in the sand. I was habitually stepping over that line. Yes. No, I was not going after the girl, but the friend though, that was funny. The friend was interesting. It was almost like birds like that, they definitely do flock together, right? And it's almost like this competition thing they always had going on. It's like one wanted to get in a word with you, and then the next was like,
yeah, we were telling you, it was like a hot commodity. Like everybody was just talking to me. I'm like, damn, I ain't never had this much love in San Diego.
No, I think it's honestly the energy. It's like we knew each other, and then they, without us saying a word, it's like they can tell. Obviously, I mean, we're locking knees and shit. So the thing, we're knocking knees and shit. So what do you expect, right? No, but like it's funny because I really do think that comes with a confident mindset. In terms of the dating world, right? Because it's not enough to say you're a confident man, or the new thing now was not new actually. Yeah, oh, I'm alpha this, I'm alpha that. If you out here saying you alpha, there's obviously an issue with that, because you have to be something you're not really, because it has to speak for you, right? And I think our energy spoke for us, is what I'm saying. We were obviously fun, we were obviously focused, and we brought that energy there. And you have to understand, women have evolved, in my opinion, to understand this. They dominate the social aspect of our world, right? In that respect. So anyway, so they were feeding off of that. And overall, I mean, for the record, it was fun. Everything was fun. I mean, all that said, it was fun.
Remember when the girls asked me what you do? I'm like, yo, I'm a whale trainer at SeaWorld. Really? I always say that shit. I'm a whale trainer at SeaWorld. They're like, really?
You can't make this shit up.
Yo, shit's you can't make this shit up because I literally.
I mean, you can, but damn.
Yeah.
But that shit really flew.
I think just San Diego was just like a melting pot of everything. You just have fun, So
right.
It was just dope.
Right. It's definitely when you say melting pot, I hear something different, right? It's not. When I first came to San Diego, I definitely felt like this is the first time I've ever been in it. Mind you, I was coming from living out in DC for about a couple of years.
Yeah.
And this was the first time where I didn't see just a lot of Black people. Now, obviously at work, this was nothing short of just the regular day at work. And it was kind of like we had the real, salad bowl. We had the real melting pot, right? Mm-hmm. But when you go out in San Diego, and most of your viewers might not know this, or I don't know ultimately, but when you go there, you don't see a lot of familiar faces. And that's the best way I can describe it. And for me, that's what it was like. Now, growing up in Miami, you see Haitians, you see Dominicans, you see all of South America and the Caribbean alike, right? And that's a good portion of what I've experienced, but it wasn't the case for San Diego. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, man, San Diego is definitely not what I expected. Yeah. And not to say it was a bad thing, but maybe in turn, that probably translated to why we got a certain kind of attention, if that makes sense. Now, is that the case now? Maybe not, but it could be.
I don't know.
Why don't you come back and find out?
Like I said, I used to hate San Diego. I used to go to LA all the time and living my life up there, just going wild.
Right.
But
at Hennytropolis. That's right. You used
Oh,
to
Henny Palooza.
Henny Palooza.
Yo,
My bad.
oh
Henny
my
Palooza.
God.
Yeah, that's
Yo.
LA for you. It's like you were that dude with the Henny bottle with the big ass Henny bottle, but anybody coming to you with a cup of ice, you weren't about that life. That's how you felt.
Yo, that I remember going to Henny Palooza. I was wilding the fuck
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
I think every time I've been to Hollywood, I've been wilding out. Man, no, I'm not even
yeah.
tell the story. That'd be for
You
another
have no
day.
excuse for that. Yeah, that's
No,
for
no,
another
no,
day,
no.
another time.
That'd be for another day. That shit
Yeah, there it
was
is. There it is.
wild. Like I said, like I tell people, like if you would have known me back in my San Diego days, I
Mm,
was wilding out. Even before then, I was wilding out. But San Diego, I thought I was wilding out the most. I had so much fun. And then like meeting up with you was just fun. And then like recently, I recently went to the States. We hung out, and it was everything
mhm.
didn't seem different. It seemed just like where we
No,
left off.
and
Just
that's
like where
true
we left
friendship,
off.
right?
Yeah.
It's funny. Dare I say, you've traveled more to different countries in San Diego than you actually doing it in a passive sense, if you know what I mean. You've
Mm.
met so many, in my opinion. It's funny from what I've experienced in the time when we were in San Diego. You've met so many women from different parts of the world, and I always
That's
felt like,
true.
well, in a sense, that's traveling.
That's true. That's true. I have to put
I
on for my
just
country. I have to put on for
no,
my country.
exactly right. I mean,
But
you represent,
I'm gonna
right?
tell you something that's crazy to me. I met this girl from Spain, right? Met a girl from Spain. And I told her, I was like, watch, I'm gonna get orders to Spain. Bet you I get orders to Spain.
There it
She
is.
was from I forget, I think she's like Barcelona or somewhere. She was like, yeah, you ain't gonna come to Spain. I said, bet. And crazy. A couple of months later, Spain. I'm like, I mean, not uh I told her I was gonna move to Spain, if anything. And
There
I
it
got
is.
it. Yeah.
Let's just say she didn't believe you.
She didn't believe me.
She
And
believes you now, right?
I ended up moving to Spain, and she lived in the UK, and now she's back in Spain, but I don't talk to her no more.
Mm,
No.
that's
But
unfortunate.
but no, it's cool. It's cool. But it's crazy though, because I was like, I'm gonna go to Spain. If they all look like you, I'm going to Spain.
Oh
Look where I
yeah, there it
came
is.
from.
See, she was representing, right? And that's
She
interesting.
represented for her
That's
country.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
man.
interesting. And this is for you. This is for you since we've taken obviously a long pause from the locker room. How have a lot of the things we talked about changed from you now? As you said, your lens has changed, right? You're seeing things a little bit differently. So are we still seeing would you say the dating world has gotten better or worse since the last time we were talking about this? Since we brought all this since we opened Pandora's box, right?
To be honest, I think it's got worse.
Okay.
Because like now social media is such a big factor in everything.
Sure.
It's got worse, bro. I can tell you, like like when I had my Instagram and when I was in San Diego, and I
Mm,
never posted like who I was with in a relationship because
mm,
it was never important for me to show
right.
everybody on
Right.
Instagram. If you know me and you ask me, I'll tell you, yeah, this is what I have, this is who I'm with. But
Right.
it's like now it's a validation point. If it's not Facebook
Interesting.
official, it's not Instagram official, it's a validation thing.
Even though you
Why
see
did you
her every day or you experience
you can
things with
live
her
with
every day,
somebody.
it's
You
got to
can
be
live with somebody.
validated through social media.
You can
That's
live with
interesting.
somebody. If you don't post them, it's like, oh, why don't you post them? I mean, it was happening. So I seen this trend happen from when I was in Japan to when I got to
Mhm.
San Diego and to now. And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
yo, it's
interesting.
growing more and more and more. Like
Right.
people are taking this social media thing seriously. Oh, you not posting me? That means you don't love me. Oh, you're not posting me. That means you don't like. I get that. I heard this throughout the years, and I'm like,
Mhm.
no, it's more the fact that I like my privacy. I don't want everybody in my fucking business. Because
Mm.
my thing is like somebody always has something to say about who you with or what you're doing in your situation,
Well,
even
we're
if they don't
allowing
know it.
them to.
Yeah, that's because you're showing everybody your cards. Like,
Sure. Sure.
so that's why I said it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse.
Well, actually, the social media thing is nothing new. I dare I say, my point in saying this is because we were thinking pretty far ahead, but we can't expect most of our peers or most of the guys that were younger than us to think
Hmm.
like this, right? So I
Hmm.
guess what I'm saying is, if there was a takeaway, is we were kind of far ahead in terms of our thought pattern. We were sort of playing chess with the whole thing,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
we anticipated the issues with, for the most part, with social media. But what are people not saying? So I think I think it's safe to say a lot of people understand the dating world right now is just not what it used to be. It's a complete minefield as opposed to knowing what it was before.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a real hit or miss, right?
And then like I feel like a lot of times, I remember we talked about this, somebody bringing something to the table. And a
Sure,
lot of
we
the
did.
times it's a lot of times it's more, it's like people bringing looks to the table these days. And I'm like, what,
Mhm.
looks don't do anything for you, you know? I think when I was younger, looks used to be everything for me. But now that I got older and since we recorded the last stuff, I'm like, when somebody brings something to the table, it has to be like a 50-50 thing.
Mhm.
It can't be no more or less than 50-50. It can't be.
Mm.
Because what I'm saying is 50-50. Like I'm not talking about financial or anything, but I'm saying like the level, the energy you put in,
Should
that
it make
person
a
has to put in that.
difference? Right.
Yeah, yeah. It, you know, it has to be like that. But you know, but some of these people around here just, it's like one person is doing it all and the other person is, you know, doing something, and they make it seem like they're doing more than what they're actually doing. So
So would you say being in Spain, right? You know, you're pretty close to a major city or a major metropolis in Spain, right?
mhm,
Province.
mhm.
Would you say it's a lot like the way it was here back in San Diego? Or would you say it's different? There's more traditional values, there's more what? More forward thinking, more
No,
empowerment
no, no.
in the dating sect?
So here is weird because I think it's like San Diego within the fact that everybody has their different viewpoints on certain things. But San
Sure,
Diego,
that's okay.
they're more open-minded. Here, they're more traditional. Like, you know, I want to
So
get
are
married, I want to
they,
have a kid, I want to do this.
oh, I see. Okay. So what does that
Some
mean?
of
How
them,
does
some
that
of them.
translate? Okay, I see.
Mhm.
So there's no thinking that I can do both. Does that make sense?
It is. That's what I said. It's like a 50-50, but it just depends on the person that you meet up with. Because some people are like super fucking traditional, and some people are
Hmm.
super open-minded. Some people are just like closed-minded. And
Well, Kanye made a reference, right? What if Mary was in the club, right?
you know, I remember this.
Right?
Mhm.
And but this is Mary we talk about.
Yeah,
And I don't think people, and this is when Kanye was going through his transitional phase with his beliefs.
yeah.
He was realizing something. What if Mary was in the club and surrounded by hella thugs, right? Are you telling me Spain has Mary Magdalene's or Mary in the club surrounded by hella thugs? You see, does that translate to me that you telling me, oh, Shorty's real traditional, but I met her in a club?
No, 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 no. I feel
Well,
like
just hear me out. This is our current state.
okay.
You see what I did there? Now, shout out to Kanye. You Nobody listening to lyrics anymore. I need you to hear that, right? And you think Joseph would be okay with this?
No, of course not. Yeah, why you
I
up
don't
in here?
know. I don't know.
No, but so from your perspective, what you think dating is like now? Like I said, I feel like this whole social
No, but
media
it's funny you
craze.
say that. I mean, would you tell brothers yourself, your peer group, hey, y'all need to come out here to Spain? Because I've noticed a trend now. It's not so much, hey, y'all need to live in the States. Let me tell you guys where to travel, where to meet very honestly,
Well,
what do you think they're looking for? You
I
know,
try to tell people come travel so they can see the world, you know, because it's not,
sure. Bring
because you
that
know,
back home with you.
America, we do have a America first strong culture thing, you know, like,
Mm,
and I'm telling people like, yo, you need to travel. You'll see more than just what America has to offer. You see what the world has
sure,
to offer too,
sure.
especially when it comes to like dating. Like, you know, San Diego is one of those places where you know you meet a lot of people from different places and you can date people from different places. And as
Mm,
us as like black men, I'm like, yeah, you know, we love our black women too. We do. Don't get us wrong, you know.
mm.
But if you
It's
do
funny how
venture
you
out,
had to say that.
you know, because you know how it is. They be like, y'all don't like black
No,
women,
no,
y'all.
no, no. It's funny how you said that. It's funny how
I'm
you
just
said that.
saying. I'm just saying. Like it's. I don't think skin color plays a difference in how you feel about somebody, but
Well,
you just have to, like I'm saying, visit and see what you know, see what you like. You know, get out of that box of America. Go travel.
you've asked me how, and that's these are all valid points. If you ask me how I think it's changed, well, um, I think since our last segment of podcast, I think in terms of, dating and men, I think it's very, very difficult to get married, especially here in the West, in North America. I think, in my opinion, it's very difficult given, and I don't know if, I've mentioned that I have a background in law, and I'm not a lawyer yet, but I will be. And what's interesting is that I think marriage doesn't translate the same way anymore in our current state. And I think what's not accepted is the fact that we have changed, right? Both men and women, in in our own right. What we want anymore isn't the same from what the boomers wanted, or our parents, or the parents before our parents, and it's not the same thing. And I feel like there's a lot of toxic aspects to that, but I think until the laws change that create a more equal footing for both, in marriage, then maybe I think that'll be the first direction that we may need to go, because right now I don't encourage marriage. I genuinely feel like marriage would be a very unfair approach in terms of the battle of the sexes here. Now, let's be fair. This is obviously statistically not favoring the majority of heterosexual marriages, right? So the truth is, the numbers are not there. And being that I have some legal experience here in San Diego, the truth is, it's not a positive outlook. Shout out, Dre. So it's not a positive outlook. It's unfair. It's unfair. It's an unfair advantage. And that again translates to the amount of entitlement, the amount of delusion involved with some of our female counterparts. And I understand how they're victims to this, because the truth is, they're being told something that in all actuality only applies to a small few. And in practice, this doesn't work for day-to-day encounters with average Joe men, or men that are on the rise, or whatever category of men, because a lot of them feel like they're very deserving of a certain category of men, but don't actually bring anything to that.
I'm gonna tell you why. It's because of social media. Like, it's all these fairy tales.
No, I think it's more than that, right? But think about what social media is doing.
It's grooming people pretty much, like, to think.
No, you really think so? Everything in social media, let's be fair. Everything in social media is there for a reason. If it didn't bring the amount of attention, the amount of validation that it did, there's no way they would be able to profit from it, right? So if everyone thought as themselves as, potentially, this is what I can potentially do with my life, this is what I'm potentially capable of doing. If social media can tell me, hey, I can get into Harvard, I can get into Harvard Law, I could do this, I could do that with my life, I think social media would change things very differently. But that's not what they're doing. They're selling. Always remember, if you're using a product that's, for all intents and purposes, if it's free, you're the product, right? They have to keep your eyeballs on that app. How do they do that? They have to validate the things that don't really bear fruit in order to see more of what their ad revenues, more of what they need to essentially be relevant. Okay. It's not the things that'll help you grow. It's the things that'll help you become what they think you should become, because that's the general narrative of a few. So why do so many young girls want to look or have similar attributes as Kylie Jenner? Why do older women want to have some aspects of Kim Kardashian? Why? All these things play a part. They're the few that have major influence. And that influence translates into money. How you follow the money is I'm pretty sure you'll get your answer. Now, does that mean, if you notice, I didn't mention anything for men. I think men are being affected by this in the same way. I think men are feeding into seeing what's unrealistic, but, guys who are, probably following just the wrong people, or just getting into the wrong stuff, they don't realize that, they're being told something that's normal that really isn't in practice. Like online dating, you have to be able to meet this checklist of items before I'll even go on a date with you. And again, these some men are accepted. You have OnlyFans. We will save OnlyFans for another time.
Yeah, we can get into
I
it.
can literally break down what I believe is the brainchild of what social media is today. And I think that's what you were alluding to. I don't want to speak for you, but OnlyFans is the quintessential cornucopia of women who feel like they can do more than just getting attention. These are women who feel like, oh, I'm empowering myself. But what are we really doing? Right?
So
what are we really telling?
Let's not even let's
not even get into that.
Keep that for next time, because I feel like if they got OnlyFans, say get your hustle on. But
yeah, it's interesting that you say that, right? Right. It's interesting that you say that.
But hey, we can't talk about that.
We will eventually
talk
about
topic for
because it's weird. Because to us it's weird. To us it's weird. It's like, why do you feel like as a man you need to do this to see this? And this is what I mean. I'm going back to the topic. So we were given an opportunity because we've put ourselves in that realm to travel. We've put ourselves in that right time, in that right place, because we surrounded ourselves with like-minded men and individuals, women or men, other men, to see the world differently. And once we started that, we couldn't go back.
Yeah, we couldn't.
And I feel like since then we've grown and looking at the dating world, and that's my answer to your question. I think you and I both agree it has gotten worse. But obviously,
And I'm gonna tell you, man, like this was a good talk. We're gonna continue to have you on this locker room thing. And like I said, you guys got to go back. I'm gonna try to link it in the description. Listen to some of our old shit. It was wild. Sure.
Sure, we will. I think it'd be a good start to break down some of the things we've said. Did that age well, or did that have some sticker shock or shock value?
Yes.
Yes, we did have some shock value to our podcast, but is that really shocking now? It's absolutely not, in my opinion. I don't think anything we said then is shocking now. Maybe it might not translate well, but that's only because of a proud few feel like now we need to make it a problem. Shout out cancel culture.
Yeah, cancel culture. We'll definitely cancel. But so we're gonna wrap this up right here, man. Thank you for giving your input. Thank you for coming on the show. You will be back.
Thank you for having me.
I'm telling you,
I'd love to be back.
No.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah,
and we need to have more conversation. Yeah.
Of course. We're definitely gonna get you on the main channel too. You can meet my amazing co-host Aya. We're gonna have a good conversation, man. But thanks for coming on the show, man. Much love. It was good seeing you when I was out there. We definitely gotta hang out again. It was good times. We had fun.
This is just the start of another journey, right? No matter where we are. We should have done this a long time ago.
I know,
there it is.
All right, bro. This is Locker Room Talk, an offshoot of the Gossip Wine podcast. Check it out. Let us know, like, subscribe. We have Patreon and PayPal. If you do want to help the channel out, just let me know. Hop in, do all that. I think we're gonna have some merch coming soon. But hey, we're always trying to grow. So like and share. We're always trying to grow. But thanks.
Always.
We're out.
All right. Peace.